Welcome to Art with Ian. Today we are talking about the difference between sunlight and local light. So you can see here I've got two different spheres that I've rendered out. This one is sunlight and this one is local light. So let's start out by doing a little setup, or showing a little setup here for how the light works. So we'll start with sunlight. Now we're doing a top-down light because this is an easy way to kind of start talking about this. And the sunlight is hitting the top of the sphere right here, so that's going to be the brightest point. We've got a terminator that is based on where the sunlight is hitting the sphere as a 3D object. And these are more rays of light, right? So basically the sun comes down to the world in parallel lines because it's so far away and such a huge light source. By the time it hits our planet, there's no real perspective in the rays of light. They're all just coming down parallel, which means you end up getting this kind of a thing, right? Where since the light is coming down parallel, it's hitting the edge of the object parallel. There's no coning in the light, and that therefore you get, in a perfect top-down scenario, you get a shadow that's not wider than the object it's hitting. So you can see there that where the edge of the light hits the edge of where the light hits the edge of the sphere tangent, that is what is creating the point of the terminator, because that is what's happening all around the sphere. Okay, so then let's look at local light. We're using a light bulb. Now this local light is the exact same setup, perfectly top down, hitting our sphere. But how come we have such a notable difference? Let's remove this terminator so we can see. Look at the rendering. The rendering is quite different, and look at the shadow. The shadow is much larger. Also, why are we in a perfectly dark room? Well, that's the thing, is without sunlight and only one local light in a room, the local light doesn't travel that far, and therefore you're in a dark room with one light. So the light comes in a cone from a local light, and therefore where it strikes the edge or goes past the edge of a sphere is at an angle. And at that angle trajectory is where you find the outside of your shadow. Additionally, because it's at that angle, you end up with a core shadow. Well, depending on where the light actually is. If I were to lower this light, then that angle would get more and more pushed and the shadow would get larger and the core shadow would come up. Because the core shadow, again, just like this one, just like here, this core shadow is based off of where it's a terminator. The core shadow is based off the terminator, and the terminator begins where light ends. It's the point where light no longer reaches your object. So let's look at that terminator real quick. That's basically where the terminator is for this. Now you'll notice that we have quite a substantially darker core shadow as well on the right hand sphere. And the reason for that is because it being higher means that bounce light is actually incapable of traveling as far up into the sphere. So you've got the light coming down, hitting, bouncing back. Well, because the terminator is up here and not down here like it is on this one, you're going to end up with less bounce getting up into the core shadow, and therefore a slightly darker and thicker core shadow. So that's kind of the difference between how these two behave. And it's really important to understand, in my opinion, it's really important to understand mostly this concept of the coning light versus parallel light, right? We want to remember that. If you have a character with a torch, or a character is only lit by fire, that's local light. And you need to understand that the shadows that cast off of that light are going to be enlarged based on the closeness or, you know, distance of that light. Whereas if you have a sunlit character, all of those shadows are going to behave as if the light is hitting in parallel and creating the according shadows. So let's go ahead and shut this off here. Now let's look at one practical application for sunlight. I'm not going to do a practical application for both because, well, this video would get really, really long. But since I think quite frequently our characters are in fact lit by the sun or outside, I thought sunlight would be more useful than local light for an example. So what I've got here is I've set up kind of, this is like how you would plot this out if you were going to get really serious, you know, really technical about it, plotting everything out. So we've got our angle of light here, right? This is the light angle coming down at the object, and you've got the lines that cut through, you know, your plane lines cutting through. You can see here where the top of the sphere is, where they intersect. So we're actually looking down slightly at this, and that's why we can see the ground plane the way we can. You know, we're looking down at the shot a little bit. And now basically with all of this plotted out, you can get to where the shadow actually is. You can see the yellow ellipse is created by where the light plane, or the, you know, basically the light angle coming down, hitting the direction of shadow and forming an ellipse. That ellipse is the shadow that is cast by sun at this angle. So let's go ahead and turn that on. Let's turn the ellipse line off. Let's get rid of some of our lines we don't need. And we'll do a little demo of rendering this. We need the sphere outline for now. Let's get rid of some of these. Center. I need that. Angle of light. Oh, I do need the terminator. We can leave angle of light on for right now. That's the, so angle of light, terminator. We need the ground turned off. Shadow direction, there we go. Okay, let's just go with that for right now. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make a flat layer, like a mask layer. So I'm going to go to the sphere outline, click on that. I'm going to come and get my wand, click on the area outside my sphere, and then inverse. So I'm going to go to select, inverse that selection. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer underneath the sphere outline and just make it 50% gray. Fill it in. Control D to deselect, and now I'm going to go ahead and turn off the outline, so we don't want an outline for a more realistic render. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another layer. I'm going to hold down Alt and hover between the two layers and click and create a clipping mask. And we'll go ahead and start by rendering out the terminator, so the core shadow, and then we'll go from there and add light and all that stuff. So I'm just going to go into a 50%. So, you know, 50% between the 50 and 100 is about 75, so I'm going to go for 75. And go ahead and get a brush. Let's get a, let's start with a, just a soft round brush, something that gets a decent amount of paint down. And we're just going to go ahead and draw in, you know, paint in our core shadow. Then next thing I'm going to do is change my brush, and I'm going to palette mix right off of what I already have here. And I'm just going to soften this down. Now, one thing you want to understand is that distance from the ground plane is an impact on reflected light. So I want my core shadow to be thicker here than it is down here. So I need to, when I'm rendering, I need to be thinking about that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just get in some light. I'm just going to grab light from my ground plane, and let's start putting in. We know that the light is hitting, we know our direction of light, so we know the light is hitting kind of here, right? So we're thinking about that as we start to render this. And I'm going to hit the bottom with bounce, and I want that to be pretty light. And remember, the bounce light's brighter here than it is over there. Now we'll go ahead and just start to, oop, I grabbed it blue somehow. What are the odds of that? Just gonna go ahead and feather that. Now let's go ahead and turn off our guides here. Okay, so we're getting something here now that's starting to feel pretty believable. With the shadow, we would need a little bit of work on the shadow. It needs an occlusion. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to lock my shadow layer by hitting the lock option right here. Let's go ahead and select the shadow color and make it a little bit darker. And let's just get our occlusion in there. And the occlusion is basically what happens when no light can reach an area. So we don't want it to be too big, but we want it to feel like the sphere has shape and volume. So that means that occlusion needs to come out as if this sphere is coming at you and in all directions, right? And then we need this shadow to start to get some ambient light in it. And remember, this is sunlight, not local light, so there's going to be more ambient light from the sky because the sun is only exists in the sky. So that means skylight is hitting our shadow. So let's grab just a gray from somewhere, and I'm actually going to do like a gradient. So if you right click the paint bucket, you can select a gradient tool. I'm going to do the linear gradient. I'm just going to drag that into here and see how that looks. That's not bad. I'm going to hit Control Z and try that one more time. Oh, just slightly more. There we go. I think that's pretty good. It's just a little bit more. Okay. And then lastly, unlocking that by clicking on the layer. I'm going to hit Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur, and set that to, I don't know, 5.8 I guess is good where I have it. I was going to say 6, but 5.8 is fine. That just takes the hardness out of that edge a little bit, which is kind of nice for the believability. And hit OK. And that's that. And that's how we kind of get that believable feeling, to plot out a shadow, to plot out where our terminator is, and thinking about, oh, how close is a point on the sphere to the ground. That's how much bounce light should be applied. That just this amount of bounce not making it up into the core shadow, that core shadow thick to thin, just that right there kind of sells a certain amount of believability in your brain, because when you look at objects in real life, you see that reality, you see that bounce light, how it behaves. So if you can apply that in your own rendering, then it'll be, it'll really help. So just really quickly to consider, if this was in fact local light that we were doing here, it would be wherever you chose the light source to be. Let's say it was here, you'd be dealing with the light coning out, right? So the cone of light, that wasn't very close, the cone of light would be going like way out, right? And then coming down. And that is how you end up, and that's really close, so that's why it's so pushed, but that's how you end up with those really big pushed long shadows when you have like a flashlight, or If you've ever been in the bathroom in the dark with a flashlight, I like to study shadows and light, obviously. I highly recommend just go in your bathroom with a flashlight and just shine it at stuff and move it around and check out what the distance of the light to the object does and the angles. Study that stuff, take pictures, study the pictures. The more that you study and understand why light is doing what it does and how the shadows behave based on the light, the more believable your rendering is going to become. So anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. I hope that this has been helpful in kind of helping you decode the difference between the two major light sources of sun and local light. And if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications of future videos, give this one a like, leave a comment, that really helps me out, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, share it with your friends, ring the bell for notifications of future videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.